Street. I am your community ambassador, Mr. Robin J. Anderson. And first, let me give my disclaimer first. Phillips Street is not a politically endorsing podcast. We're here for information purposes only. We're here for people to spotlight people doing outstanding things like community leaders, business owners, and elected officials. All right. So with that being said, I have a good friend of mine here. Our history goes way back to like 90.
Way back.
Man, 92, 93 maybe?
Yeah.
Somewhere up in there.
Yeah, somewhere there.
I don't know what to call you, man. Steve Phillips, Lieutenant, I don't know what to call you, man.
Stephen is good.
Okay. Steve Phillips, everybody.
Let's
So,
keep it simple.
man, first off, Steve, tell everybody where you're from, where you grew up, and things like that, so we kind of know who you are.
Well, I'm from Beaumont, Texas.
Mhm.
Born and raised, and moved out once I graduated high school, went to college, and
What high school you attend?
Westbrook Senior High,
Okay.
Westbrook Bruins.
Mhm.
And so just started life after that,
Mhm.
college and
What
after
college you attend?
oh man, I had a multitude of colleges.
Yeah, you sound like me.
I was a professional student at one time, man.
You
I
sound
started
like
off
me.
at Wiley College,
Mm-hmm.
went to Prairie View, went from Prairie View to Sam Houston State University, and then just started working after that.
Mm-hmm.
So life has been a journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a journey.
Steve and how I met Steve, this pastor, Garvey, this old pastor, Erskine McLean.
Yeah.
Good guy, man. At first, I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't really take to Mr. McLean, man, but he earned my respect when I was trying to find my way spiritually, quote unquote. And so I guess my mom, when she told him what I was thinking about doing, instead of him coming and talking me out of it, he brought me literature.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but for your pastor to do that, I said, this guy, he not that bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but
Yeah.
God bless the dead, man. He's a good guy, man. But we met going to his church, and my first memory of you, man, was when they had this basketball goal outside the church.
I am a hooper.
Yeah, man. So we used to hoop. We had these slots, these little battles on side the church, man. And were holy battles at that.
Right.
So, but
It was all good.
it was all good, you know what I mean? So I remembered that, man. And so that's where I met a lot of my friends on the basketball court and whatnot.
Right.
So, but so you're a pastor as well.
Previous pastor.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
I'm no longer pastor. I'm active at my church, True Vine Missionary Baptist Church in Old Town Springs.
Okay.
The pastor is Dr. Moore.
Okay.
But yeah, very active in my church and love it, and appreciate the opportunities that the pastor has given me to lead in certain aspects. So it's a good field.
Okay, gotcha. So are you, at one point in time, you were a musical director. Are you still playing the keyboard, or you just?
Man, look, I have laid that down. People tell me, hey, don't give up your gift. I'm not giving it up.
Okay.
But just focusing on other things right now that's pertaining to where I'm going and how I want to get there.
Gotcha.
And I still play every now and then, but not as frequent as I used to.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. So when was your first? Because I see you have a badge on. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know what to call you, lieutenant or whatever it is. But what was your first stint in getting into law enforcement?
It's strange because law enforcement has always been a part of me. Growing up, we used to go with the Explorers group in the city of Beaumont and ride along with the police officers there. So it's always been a part of me, but I think the time came when I was teaching, and this is a true story. I was in adaptive behavior class, and a student of mine, we had to put him on the bus, and he had to be harnessed in because he moved around the bus, so they had to harness him in the bus like a little safety vest he put on. So I was putting the safety vest on him, and somehow or another he got his hand out of that safety vest and slapped me right across the face.
Oh no.
And I stepped back and I'm like, man, do I want to keep this job or do I want to find something else to do? So I
Right,
kept the
right.
job long enough to find something else to do,
Got it.
and finally something else to do was going to the police academy.
Wow, okay.
And it has been a positive and productive career. I'm going into my 27th year.
It's been that long?
It's been that long. Yeah.
Golly. Which academy did you go? Did you go to one at U of H downtown?
No, actually I went to,
Pasadena?
at that time it was Harris County, North Harris Community College,
Okay,
Montgomery District.
Gotcha.
So I went there right to the Greenspoint Center.
Okay.
It's Houston North now.
Mhm.
But I went there, graduated, and my first stint in law enforcement came through the Port Authority Police Department. I worked
Did you know a guy named Keith Washington?
Keith Washington.
Kind of tall guy, slender. He probably show you his paper. He worked for the Port Authority. He
Yeah.
passed away a couple years ago too.
Okay. Okay.
Go
No,
ahead.
name doesn't ring a bell.
Mhm.
But then Port Authority had some layoffs, and I made the cut of layoffs, but I was, kind of afraid that they were going to have more layoffs. So I applied with Spring ISD
Gotcha.
and got hired there. Worked there for 10 years.
Mhm.
Got promoted to a sergeant after 3 years
Mhm.
being on the campus, and just kind of just navigated my way. I earned while I was at Spring, I earned a bachelor's and a master's degree in criminal justice.
Wow. Okay.
After that, my passion for ministry was still there, so I also earned a master's degree in theology.
Okay.
So since then, I wanted to do more and be in a leadership role. I didn't have the opportunity to do that at Spring, but Lone Star had a captain's position available.
Mhm.
And so I applied for that and got the job as a captain with Lone Star. And so I was there for 11 years, 11 great years. And so it was time for me to do something else. Just wanted more responsibilities and an opportunity to kind of lead on a higher level. And so I applied at numerous places. Chief position at U of H downtown, chief position at Prairie View A&M, chief position at Tulsa Community College in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I was always the bridesmaid, but not
Never the bride. Okay.
never the bride. All three of those opportunities came, and I was always number two. And so I was like, well, maybe it's just not for me. And so after a while, I started thinking about, hey, I'm in this career, I've been in this career a long time, I'm just going to sit it out and just retire from Lone Star. And so an opportunity came again, and I said, the first time it came, I didn't put in for it, the job that I have right now. And so I continued to just do what I was doing. And then it posted again, and so I said, well, I don't have anything to lose. I'll go ahead and apply. And I applied. They interviewed me, and I forgot about it, didn't think about it, and so they called me back for a second interview, and then the superintendent called me. And so it was just like, it was tailor-made for me.
Gotcha. Everything just kind of
it just kind of flowed.
Yeah,
I didn't have to ask for anything.
Right.
And so I've been previously writing a book. I started maybe about 3 years ago writing a book titled "Timing is Everything." But I wasn't listening. I wasn't listening to myself. I was just kind of going off of what I thought was right for me, and and kind of being disappointed along the way. But after that opportunity, man, it really opened up my eyes to see that, man, everything works in its own special place.
It does. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. So I became the chief of police at Montgomery ISD, and I've been there for the last 7 months, and just trying to be proactive and just do some things that the department needs.
Gotcha.
The type of leadership.
Now, where exactly is Montgomery? Is it?
It's in Montgomery County. It's in the far west portion of the county. Just maybe about 20 minutes from Conroe.
Okay,
west,
gotcha.
on 105.
All right. So I know, man, that the climate of law enforcement and civilians have been very touchy these days.
Right.
How is it that? How are you being in the position that you're in, or being more of a, how are you engaging the community now? Because I think what's happening now is that because back in the day, like, 60, 70 years ago, most of the police were from the community.
Right.
So how are you adjusting to, learning the people who they are, and we can kind of keep what's happening out there, on the mainstream happening locally?
Right. But I think it's keeping an open mind, and being able to be approachable. Some people will, kind of try to get next to you, or try to attack your character, or things of that nature. And we grew up playing a game called the Dozens.
Yeah.
And the Dozens came about when you had two people who had the same type of swagger and A-type personality to try to, one up each other. But the thing about playing the Dozens was that you couldn't show that you were getting mad.
That's right, yeah.
Because if somebody said something, and nothing was off limits. You talked about your mother,
kids,
father, whatever it was, nothing was off limits.
Right.
And so, playing the Dozens, you couldn't show when a person got next to you, something they said.
Right.
Because if you did, they stayed on you.
That's right, yeah.
And so you had to have thick skin playing the Dozens. Well, as a police officer, you have to have thick skin.
Wow.
I don't know if they teach this in the academy anymore, but when I was in the academy, I had an instructor, and I'll never forget his name. His name is Mike Grabowski. Mike always said, he said this one true thing. He said, if you ever go to jail because of something you did in law enforcement, give me a call, collect. I want to hear your story, because I can guarantee you it's something that I didn't teach you.
Right.
Career of having thick skin. They also used to teach in the academy that your peace couldn't be disturbed. So that's a part of that thick skin. I don't care what somebody says to me. I don't take it personal, because it's really not about me.
Right.
It's really not about me. It's really not about the uniform that I have on. It might be about my authority, but it's nothing personal. So I can't take something to heart what somebody says because I pulled them over for a traffic stop.
Right.
Or I told them they're going to jail for whatever reason of breaking the law. It's not personal to me. And so you have to have thick skin in this industry and know that people are going to try to get next to you.
Right.
They're going to try to say stuff that is going to get on your nerves, but you just got to have thick skin. Your peace cannot be disturbed. And so answering that question about the community has to know that you have the personality, you have the characteristics, and the mindset to do the job that you're doing, because this job's not easy. And I love it. I love this job because it gives me an opportunity to meet great people. It gives me an opportunity to have a voice. And so I think that's the most important thing about having this job and being in this profession. We're public servants. We're servants to you.
The people, right.
The people. And so I think some of us have forgotten that, and think that, we're more than what we are, but we're not. We're just servants.
Gotcha. So we were talking off camera about COVID last year.
Yeah.
So what did you take from 2020 last year that you had to adjust and you applied it now to your life?
Man, that's a good question. COVID brought on a whole lot of issues, circumstances, and so when COVID first came out back in March, I was just coming off of spring break. I went into the office, and my boss told me at the time, it was a Monday, I think it was, when we went back, he says, everybody's going home.
Wow.
Police officers.
Right.
Everybody's going home. I'm like, why?
Right.
Yeah, it's a pandemic, and there's been an order that, everybody's going home. So I worked from home from March all the way up until I got hired for this job in November.
Oh, wow.
And the strange part about that was socialization. You know, not being able to see people, not being able to interact one-on-one with people. It gave me an opportunity to get more family time, and the bond between my wife and kids got real good. You know, but if you look at the bigger picture, the bonds between certain people didn't get good.
I agree.
You know, there were higher domestic violence rates because people were at home all the time.
Right.
Most of their day, 18, 20 hours a day was spent at home. You know, so there was no social interaction with other people. So I guess that was kind of a breaking point for people. But what it did teach me to experience life in a different way.
I agree.
You know, and live life
a
different way. Because if this was going to be the new normal, we had to adjust to it.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, we had to come out of that type of shell that we were in and doing the same thing over and over and over again.
That routine.
That routine. So it was an eye opener. It was an eye opener, and it made me realize, hey, if it's going to be like this for a long period of time, I'm going to have to adjust to it.
Adjust to it, right? I agree.
You know?
I agree.
I started reading more. Started praying more. You know, started having better relationships with my wife. You know, we started doing things more together. So it was I feel like coming out of COVID was a good thing for me. It wasn't a good thing for everybody.
I agree. You know, it's going to sound funny, but I knew it was serious when I had went to a store in the community, Joe B's. You know, I probably should give me a shout out. But anyway, went to that Joe B's, and so when I went into the parking lot, it was packed. So it was in between. It wasn't on the first of the month, and it wasn't quite the middle of the month. So I'm like, what's going on? So I walk into the bank, and every line has at least 30 to 40 people. And I'm like, I said, okay, I'm still not, you know. So I left out of there, drove to another store that's, you know, predominantly with better quality of food. You know, it's not a shot against Joe B's, but anyway, another store. So when I walked in, I said, you know what? Okay, something's not right, but this store is packed too. So my instincts came out. You know, let me go and get some beans, you know, some tuna fish, stuff like that. I know I can kind of cook. When I went to the aisle, all the tuna was gone, all the beans are gone. I said, wait, hold up, something not right. You know what I mean? Then I went to the toilet paper gone. I said, something gone. You know what I mean? So when did you know that this was it was serious? I mean, of course, you know, say your boss said that, hey, you got everybody going, but when did you know it was really serious?
Well, you know, like you, went to a store and the shelves were empty. You know, and this is during the middle of the day when people are supposed to be at work.
At work, right.
You know, and so I was like, man, we gotta. It was like, you know, when Harvey was coming. You know, people just ransacked the stores, man. Everything was gone, and this was the same way. It felt like I don't know if you remember. I'm sure you remember the show Twilight Zone.
I remember Twilight Zone.
You know, it felt like the Twilight Zone. You know, things are happening, but you don't know why they're happening.
Right.
And so it wasn't until I saw the news and saw the devastation of what they were projecting the pandemic was going to do. And so when I realized, hey, this is real. You know, we need to kind of get ourselves together and get prepared for this.
Right.
And so, you know, it was strange because I was the safety officer for my job, and so the chief called me and he said, well, listen, I need you to research where to get a mask from. And I was looking all over the internet and no mask.
All the masks are gone. Right.
And so it was then too that I realized, man, this is really something that is going to be that is going to affect us for a long time. And so all through all that, you know, even knowing the things that I know about law enforcement and know some of the behind the scene things about the pandemic, it was scary. It was
Yeah,
scary.
it was love, man. You had to get some act right, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
if not, it's like, okay, what do I expect? You know. So, speaking of adjusting, the city just passed a bill
Mhm.
in Texas that you don't have to have a concealed handgun license now to actually carry a gun.
Mhm.
Man, how does that make? Well, I'm gonna say make you feel. I don't want that to get too personal, but how are you guys going to govern that, man? Like how? Because now the whole stop traditional
Right.
routine stop is going to be different now. I mean,
Right.
is it still the
Right.
same? Like okay, we're going to have the same questions. Like hey, do you have a gun in the car? This and that.
Right.
So
Right.
how's it going to affect routine
I
stops?
think if you approach it the way that it should be approached,
Mhm.
it will not change. You know,
Mhm.
you approach a traffic stop with the understanding that the person might have a gun.
Mhm.
You know, you do that every time.
Mhm.
You know, and so if you do that every time, you won't be surprised if the person has a gun.
Right.
I think it's the approach,
Mhm.
and the law is the law.
Laws of love. Right.
You know,
right.
it's just like when they had the concealed handgun law passed, and then they had the open carry
Mhm.
law gun passed,
Mhm.
and people ask me, you know, so how do you feel about it? I'm like, you know, it really doesn't make a difference how I feel about it.
Mhm.
It's the law now.
It's the law. Right.
You
right.
know,
right.
I just have to be able to enforce the law.
Mhm.
You know, if it comes down to a situation where someone is violating the law.
Mhm.
Same way with this one. You know,
Mhm.
it's the law. All I'm going to do is enforce what the law has stipulated for me to enforce. If I was a lawmaker, would I have done that? Probably
Probably
not.
not. Right. Right.
You know, and I tell people, you know, if you're going to open carry, you make yourself a victim.
Mm.
You know, if somebody's going to do some harm and they're truly meaning to do some harm, and they see you carrying open,
Mhm.
you're going to be the first target.
That's a good
You
point
know?
to think about.
So I don't think it benefits anyone to carry open.
Mhm.
You know, I think that we have a right to bear arms.
Mhm. It's in the Constitution.
It's the Constitution. It's a constitutional right,
Mhm.
and so it's a person's right.
Mhm.
You know, and you know now it's a person's right to carry openly
Mhm.
or conceal.
Consider right.
You
Gotcha.
know? So you know the law is the law. So I'm just here to enforce it.
Mhm. All right. So one last question before we get out of here,
Yeah.
because we can talk a whole lot about the
No
law
doubt.
and things like that. You know, in the black community, you know, we're taught not to talk to police, don't deal with the police, this and that, whatever else. But so I have a cousin, good kid, man. You know, his mom kind of, you know, she was, you know, addicted to drugs and whatnot. Dad in and out of prison and whatnot. So he chose the profession to get into law enforcement. And I thought about it, it's really because of how he grew up. He wants to stop, you know, other kids from try to stop them going from what he went through, you know, as far as like mother addiction and you know, dad going out of jail and whatnot. So what kind of advice would you give kids in the community who, you know, really were taught them to not talk to the police, but if you want to really be, I guess, to get in the police force, what would you advise?
Well, you know, like I said earlier, you have to be approachable.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have an open mind. You have to be able to communicate. And so what I found recently that our kids are lacking that communication skills because of the computer, because of the games. Now they can talk to you on the phone, but face to face,
Face to face, man,
it's difficult for them.
It's
to
changing, man.
Yeah, to communicate.
Well,
But
yeah.
so I would think that communication is a plus.
Gotcha.
Especially if you're going to be dealing with the public. You know, you're going to need to know how to talk to people. You're going to have a listening ear. You know, and know that sometimes you don't have to enforce the law in a negative manner to assist, and I think that's the biggest part of law enforcement.
Gotcha. Okay. So, but like I said, it's gonna be Coco. Really? Yeah. So I'm dog sitting my cousin's dog, y'all. So this is our mascot for the next couple episodes. So she heard somebody walk in. Anyway, so So is it a good profession to get into, you think, as far as like with the youth or anybody that's want to, you know, to retire from it?
I love this profession,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that need more minorities in this profession.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Is it an easy job? I'm not going to say easy.
Mm-hmm.
But is it a job that is going to give you some sense of value at the end of the day? Yes, I think so. Helping people is always a good sense of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you have that type of mentality, I think you go a long way.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, so like I said, we can talk a whole lot, man.
Yeah.
I mean, this, but I try to keep everything under 30 minutes because people's attention span now is so short. But any parting words before you leave out of here, man? That people can find you on social media if you want to give that out, or you know.
I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
Our department is on Facebook. Montgomery ISD Police Department. We're developing our Twitter, Instagram page.
Mm-hmm.
So I have my own personal page on Facebook, Stephen Phillips.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, I'm just a vessel,
Gotcha.
a vessel. You know,
Gotcha.
I just want to do what's best, not only for God, especially for God, but in the community as well.
Gotcha.
So.
Gotcha. Okay. With that being said, y'all, this is another edition of Political Street. Make sure and go. My website is up now, politicalstreet.org. Go buy your T-shirts. Buy your T-shirts. I'm on Instagram as well, Political Street. I'm on Facebook at Political Street as well. And also remember that I have a slogan now that there should be no I in politics. So with that being said, I'll see y'all next time. All right, peace.
06.
All right.